Hey there, fellow Reddit enthusiasts. If you love diving into intriguing Reddit stories, you'll want to stick around till the end. We've got a captivating one lined up for you today. For this video, we're delving into the fascinating world of relationships, so buckle up for a deep dive into some compelling stories. Am I being the asshole for wanting to end my relationship because my fiancé wants to spend Christmas with his daughter and ex-wife? I, F29, met my fiancé, M35. 5 years ago, he had a 2-year-old daughter who he has shared custody of with his ex-wife, F40. I always admired his friendship with his ex and how they're raising their daughter amicably. The first Christmas, he told me that he was going to spend it with his ex-wife and baby. He stays the whole 3 days, 24-26. I didn't even think about it because we were been dating for some months only. I usually fly home to my parents on Christmas anyway. This happened every Christmas afterwards, and I was fine. He proposed to me in February. Yesterday, he asked me if I was going to buy my flight to my parents early so I don't need to pay 3-4 times the cost if I buy it around Christmas. I was surprised. I told him that I thought that we could do Christmas together this year. He said, "What? We, his ex and he, always celebrate Christmas together for the daughter's sake." I told him that it was not okay now we are engaged to be married. I asked him why they don't do alternate Christmases or days like other divorced couples, but he said no, we promised to make out daughter's life as normal as possible. I started thinking after his words, I don't know how this will work in the future. After 5 years together, I'm still shipped away every Christmas, and I know it's for the little girl who I adore, but I feel sick to my stomach. I think I want to end the relationship, but he thought I was being so selfish and horrible. I feel horrible too, but I don't see any future with him. Fiancé just got home and showed me a text he got from his ex. He told her basically that he was planning to include me in this Christmas. Her answer was long and harsh, saying that I wasn't really family yet, and that she wasn't comfortable with a stranger in her house. Then she accused him of being weak and prioritizing a woman over his daughter, who's in a sensitive age now. So he asked me that, maybe not this year, but next year I'm definitely family, because we will be married and his ex won't have any other excuses. I feel more conflicted now. Could I stay another year and hope it gets better? Or should I just cut my losses when he obviously isn't trying to support me? I know it's his daughter he's thinking of and he doesn't want to make waves, but I feel like I'm nothing right now. Our protagonist, a fiancé stuck in the annual Christmas shuffle, is questioning the future of her relationship. I mean, who knew that deciding where to spend Christmas could be a make or break situation? Move over, relationship milestones. We've got festive festivities stealing the spotlight. Now, our soon-to-be bride suggested, "Hey, let's spend Christmas together." And her fiancé hit her with the, "We always celebrate with my ex for our daughter's sake." Cue the record scratch. I mean, talk about a Christmas tree lighting up with awkwardness. But wait, there's a twist. Fiancé has a plan, a grand gesture to include her next Christmas. A noble effort, right? Well, not so fast. Ex-wife drops a text bomb saying fiancé isn't family yet, and she's not keen on strangers in her house. Ouch, that's colder than a snowman in the North Pole. Now, our leading lady is caught in the crossfire between a fiancé who's juggling family dynamics and an ex who seems more territorial than Santa over cookies. The real question here is, will she brave another year of Christmas exile or hit the eject button on this holiday hullabaloo? It's like a festive soap opera, and we're all tuning in for the next episode. But remember, dear readers, relationships are like fruitcakes, sometimes a little nutty, often filled with surprises, and occasionally best left uneaten. So, as the Christmas carol goes, 'tis the season to be jolly, and maybe, just maybe, it's time for our leading lady to find her own Christmas cheer, with or without a fiancé in tow. Stay tuned, because in the upcoming story update, we'll be incorporating more of your opinions. Your perspectives shape the narrative, so keep those comments flowing. My fiancé has told his ex that he's having Christmas in our place this year. Hell broke loose. My fiancé and I have been in constant conversation about what happened, and I have sensed that he is basically terrified of rocking the boat. I don't know if he is scared of his ex or something, but he kept saying that his daughter is the one who's going to pay should he and his ex start fighting. Anyway, he said that he understands that this wasn't an ultimate solution and that he and I are a family now. He said he will talk to his ex about new arrangement. He's done that now and told the ex that he wanted Christmas at our house this year. As per their custody agreement, Christmas and other holidays should be on alternate years with each parent, and that she's welcome to spend Christmas Eve with us since she doesn't feel comfortable with having me at her house. She called him about 100 times, screaming and hauling insults at him, telling him he was a moron choosing pussy, over his own daughter, and that he is a worthless coward and a piece of garbage. He stopped answering her after a while. She sent him email last night that she's going to talk to her lawyer to get full custody and threatening that he will never see his daughter again. I was shocked because I have never seen her escalate like this, and I feel guilty for starting this whole thing. I apologized to my fiancé, but he said that it wasn't my fault and that he knew this would happen, but that it was time to take this battle as he always knew he would need to sooner or later. He didn't sleep and has been sad, but he said he wasn't worried about her threats because she can't do anything. But he hates that she is probably going to use his daughter against him when he promised himself to never do that. He said he has been compliant all these years for his daughter's sake, but he always knew this day was coming, when he can't just be a doormat anymore. I don't know what to do now. I still feel responsible for what happened, and I hate seeing him distraught and sad. I haven't even told him we are expecting either. I feel empty. Our protagonist, the fiancé, decided it was high time to shake things up in the Christmas department. Who knew that a simple change in festive plans could turn into a soap opera? Our leading lady, in an attempt to establish her own holiday traditions, convinced her fiancé to celebrate Christmas in their own abode. But wait, cue the ex-wife storming in like a hurricane of fury, throwing insults around like confetti at a New Year's Eve party. Someone get this lady a chill pill. Now, fiancé is caught in the crossfire of custody battles and threats of lawyering up. The drama is so thick, you could cut it with a gingerbread cookie. But fear not, dear readers, because in the midst of this chaos, our leading lady has a secret. She's harboring the news of a tiny human in the making. Talk about a plot twist. As the tension rises like the grand finale of a fireworks show, our leading lady feels the weight of guilt. Is she the puppet master pulling the strings of this family drama? Well, not really, but guilt is a fickle creature, isn't it? In the grand scheme of things, families are like fruitcakes, a mix of different ingredients, occasionally nutty, and, more often than not, best appreciated with a sense of humor. So, as we navigate through this festive fiasco, let's remember that life is unpredictable, and sometimes a dash of wit and a sprinkle of positivity can make even the messiest family dramas a tad more palatable. Now let's shift our focus to the comments section and see what our fantastic community has to say about this. Your insights always add an extra layer to the conversation. Comments: User Destiny, Kane48. She wants him back, that's it. She has seen you as just a temporary roadblock on her path to getting home back. She is making worthless threats because the realization that he is never going back to her has set in. She wants you gone. Expect her to get even worse once she finds out you're pregnant. That takes away her delusion that he'd eventually come back because of his daughter. You've destroyed her happy family delusion she has every Christmas. Your husband should get a lawyer ASAP and officially start forcing the custody agreement. If she refuses, he needs to call the police. Any chance of an amicable custody is gone. User Zealous Ideal Gold 5909 replies, she'd probably didn't think he'd leave her. I'm assuming that she's always been like this towards him when they were married as well, so she thought he'd still stay if he found out. But he didn't, because unfortunately there are spouses who stay despite their partner's affair. She's mad that he actually had guts to do it, so now she's grasping at straws to somehow keep him and her daughter and make it seem like they're family again. But now that's ruined for her, and she can't handle that, which is all on her. Your BF was actually generous to an extent, letting his daughter having the opportunity to be with her mother, despite what she did without bad-mouthing. But his ex had to ruin it, and now there's a chance she may not see the daughter as much she wants to. All this could have been avoided if she had included you on Christmas and being a decent person. None of this is your fault, it's his ex's. User HDMX539. Doesn't mean she doesn't want him back. OP, you're fine. This is not your fault. Him proposing to you, you accepting it, is the catalyst he needed to finally stand up for himself and stop being manipulated by his ex-wife. Cheaters are manipulators. While not all cheaters are narcissistic, and not all narcissistic people are cheaters, there is an overlap. They rage when they don't get what they want, they're extremely entitled. Right now is as good a time as any to put your foot down, which you did, and that is awesome. That means you have self-respect. Good on you for that. That your fiancé start to place boundaries with his ex-wife that he should have done long ago. Tell him that he was manipulated by his ex and she disgustingly weaponized their daughter to do so. Thank him for standing up for himself, you, and your newly forming relationship, and that you'll support him as goes through this transition period with a horrible and awful adversary. All right, folks, it's time to shift gears and dive into our next compelling story. Buckle up for another journey into the unexpected twists of Reddit tales. My family wants me to join them for Christmas after disowning me over 8 years ago. After being disowned 8 years ago, my family has invited me, my wife, 27F, and daughter, 1F, for Christmas. After getting conflicting advice from my friends, one of my buddies told me to post my dilemma here to see what random internet strangers would say. I, 25M, am the youngest of 4 kids between my mom, 52F, and dad, 54F. My siblings are fake names, Michael, 31M, Sarah, 28F, and my twin brother Casey, 25M. For context, growing up, I was the black sheep of the family, and I knew that from a very young age. See, my family is full of athletes. My dad was a star basketball player for a D2 school. My mom played volleyball. Michael played soccer. Sarah played softball, and Casey was the star running back for the football team. I was never really interested in any of those physical sports, but rather I was interested in archery, which my family called a wimpy sport. My parents were always invested in my siblings and rarely ever attended my events to the point where I basically had to beg for them to come to my tournaments. Between the ages of 14-16, I had taken part in about 20 tournaments while my parents only showed up to one. I was never neglected by them, but they were never emotionally there for me as they were for my siblings, and as a teenager I resented that. Whenever I tried to bring this up to them, they would always call me an attention seeker. But however, this is not why I was disowned from my family. When I was 15, I began dating Amy, now 25F, who was in the same grade as me at the time. After about 6 to 7 months of dating, I introduced her to my folks and my siblings, and they really liked her. I know I was young, but I could see myself having a future with her. Almost 2 years later, one of Amy's ex-friends told me that she had been cheating on me for a couple of months. At the time, I didn't know who the guy was, but after confronting her, she told me that it was my twin brother. She basically told me that while at first she loved me, the love she had for my brother surpasses that. Later that day, when I confronted Casey at home, I was so enraged that I sucker punched him and knocked him out. I admit that I should have not gotten violent, but years of resentment towards him and the rest of the family just burst open. In exchange for my family not pressing charges on me as I could have been tried as an adult in court, I was sent to live with my paternal aunt, 48F, who at this point was estranged from the family and lived in another city about 2 hours away. From then on, I have not had any contact with them. At first it was tough, but later on, with support from my aunt and her husband, 48M, I moved on from wanting a relationship with them. I transferred to a different high school and attended a university in my aunt's city and graduated as an electrical engineer. I later met my wife and got married to her. I, at the time of my wedding, thought about inviting them, but went against it because I did not want any sort of drama at my wedding. From that point, me and my wife bought a house an hour away from my aunt and were blessed with a daughter a year ago. About a week ago, I received a Facebook message from my mother and father, wanting to reconnect over Christmas at their house. I told them that I would consider it as I possibly have other plans, but would give them a clear answer soon. Later on, both Michael and Sarah sent me friend requests, which felt weird to me. My wife has told me that if I decided to go, she and my daughter would spend Christmas at my father-in-law, as she does not have to deal with unwanted stress as she is 2 months pregnant, and I agree with her. My question to those reading this is that should I go and try to reconcile with my family, or should I not? I am very conflicted on what to do. On one hand, they perhaps feel bad about what they did to me and want to apologize for what they did. But on the other hand, perhaps if I go there, they will try to make me apologize to Casey, which I do not want to. Our hero, once the black sheep of the athletic dynasty, ventured into the world of archery, only to be labeled a wimpy sports enthusiast by his sports-centric family. The plot thickens as teenage love takes center stage, only to crumble in the most Shakespearean manner, with a side of betrayal, sucker punches, and an involuntary relocation to Aunt Estrange's abode. Fast forward to the present, where the ghost of Christmas past comes knocking in the form of Facebook messages and friend requests. The prodigal son is faced with a dilemma, to accept the olive branch or to continue his peaceful, archery-loving existence with his wife, daughter, and an upcoming addition to the family tree. Now the real question is, will this Christmas miracle lead to a heartwarming family reunion, or are we in for a holiday special, filled with awkward apologies and unwarranted family drama? Tensions rise, the suspense builds, and the audience is left wondering, will our hero take the plunge into familial forgiveness or stand firm in the fortress of his newfound peace? In the grand tradition of holiday spirit, let's hope for a touch of wit, a sprinkle of humor, and a positive twist in this tale of family estrangement. After all, 'tis the season of miracles, and who knows, a Christmas miracle might just be what this family needs to mend old wounds. The story isn't over yet. In our next update, we're weaving in more of your opinions and reactions. Your voices are an integral part of the storytelling process. Update. My family wants me to join them for Christmas after disowning me over 8 years ago. Need advice on whether to go or not to go? I began to do some digging into my family to try to figure out why they have reached out. Michael is a corporate lawyer who works for a major company in my hometown. By looking through his Facebook page, he has 2 daughters and was married to his wife in 2016. Sarah appears to be married to a doctor. She herself 8 years ago was studying to be a nurse, and they have a son together. I have a friend who lives in my hometown and has parents who are friends with my parents. When I asked her about Sarah, she told me that Sarah had divorced her first husband, the one she was dating 8 years ago, after he had committed mail fraud. Casey got married to Amy right after high school, and together, they have 2 kids together. I could not exactly figure out what he or his wife does for a living through Facebook, but judging that they bought a big house last year in the midst of a pandemic, tells me they are not really struggling. My dad seems to be going through a midlife crisis, and my mother is really into the wellness community. I then began to list the reasons of why they wanted to possibly reach out to me now. Money. Unlikely, because 8 years ago, my parents' combined salary was higher than my wife and my salary. And given that my siblings are not struggling financially, makes me think money is not the reason. 2. Organ donation could be the case but seems unlikely. But a Redditor said that it could be that. Casey, given he is my twin, would be my most likely match. And I think it's unlikely, because he was tagged in a Facebook post skiing just a week before Christmas. Regarding my daughter, they could possibly be reaching out to me to have a relation to my daughter, but I honestly am not sure. My daughter is not the first granddaughter for my parents, so I do not know why they want to meet her. They most likely found out my daughter existed because my wife's Facebook account was public. She has since privated her account. I then contacted my aunt, the estranged one who took me in, informing her about the situation, and she explained to me why they were reaching out to me after all this time. To understand the situation, you need to understand why my aunt was estranged. My paternal grandpa, 79M, and grandma, 76F, had 4 children. My dad was the second oldest, and my aunt was the third. My aunt after college came out to her parents as bisexual and began dating her girlfriend. My grandparents immediately disowned her and refused to have any contact with her. However, about 4 years ago, my grandpa began to reach out. About a month ago, my grandpa had been asking about me and what I was doing in life, and whether I was married or had kids. My aunt responded by calling my grandpa out for wanting to know about me after he supported Casey for what he did. That is when the whole situation changes. My grandpa told my aunt that because I had cheated on Amy with one of her close friends, I deserved to be estranged. My grandpa is a religious nut, so he looks down on cheating. He had been told by my family that after the friend who I allegedly cheated with confessed to Amy, she went to Casey and Sarah for support and comfort. And when I found out about this, I confronted and brutally attacked Casey and Sarah. While Sarah was the one who tried to break me and Casey apart, I did not lay a finger on her, and I did not brutally attack Casey. When my aunt was telling me this, my jaw dropped. I could not believe that they hated me so much that they were willing to make up a terrible lie about me and spread it around. My aunt later told Grandpa the full truth on what truly happened, and my aunt told me he was shocked because he always thought Casey was a good kid. My grandpa then asked my aunt for my number, which she declined to give. I figured out why my parents and siblings wanted to get into touch with me. It turns out my grandpa had told my parents and my siblings that if they did not apologize for what they did to me and have me over for the family Christmas dinner, they would be cut off from his will. For context, he is a multimillionaire. So that is why they reached out to me, not to apologize about how they all wronged me in the past, but rather because if they did not, they would not get anything from Grandpa. What a bunch of greedy people. After hearing about this from my aunt, I decided to block all of them. Why should I respond to them? At this point, all of them are dead to me. I have a wife to support after what she went through and a family that respects me and my in-laws. However, this does not end here, as 3 days after New Year's Eve, I received a call from an unknown number on my work phone. I am used to getting calls from unknown numbers because of my career, and when I picked up, I heard my grandfather's voice. He most likely got my number from my company website. The first thing he did was apologize for not trying to get into contact with me for the past 8 years. He told me he was sorry that he could not be there for important events such as my graduation, my wedding, and the birth of my daughter. I was not really close to him before, so him cutting me off did not bother me. Later in the call, he told me he was so disgusted with the rest of my family that he is cutting them off his will and adding me to it. I honestly do not know how to feel about that, as the money would be helpful. But at the same time, I do not want him to use this as a way to force a relationship between me and my daughter. We talked for about half an hour. The way the call went made me think that perhaps I could build a good relationship with my grandpa, but then he told me something that got me really pissed. He told me that he was disappointed in that my daughter had not taken the family name. For context, after I got married to my wife, the issue of what last name to use as a couple came up. For some legal reasons, I was unable to change my last name to my wife's last name, but we decided as a couple that all of our future children would have her last name. I, at this point, unloaded on my grandpa, calling him a senile old man and many other hurtful things, and told him to never contact me ever again. The audacity of this man to say that after what I went through is something. I will not let him use the money I receive in the will to control me. Even if I receive the money, I will donate it to a local charity, but he is a man of false promises, so this is unlikely. These past few weeks have been really tough for me, and I hope to make it to the other side. My wife has privated her Facebook account, and her in-laws have done the same. What they do to try to contact me is beyond me. Hell, they would probably hire a private detective to try to find me. I believe they do not know where I live, but you never know. I have thought of a get a restraining order, but given that there are lawyers within the family means getting a RO will be hard. I did not really get any time to answer any questions given in my last post before it was deleted for some reason. I will do my best to answer any questions for the next day or two, but after this I am done using Reddit for a while. Our protagonist, disowned for an alleged affair that turned out to be nothing but a family-fabricated fable, is now facing a surprise reunion, a millionaire grandpa, and a potentially messy will. Firstly, kudos to our hero for doing some Sherlock-level digging on the family. We've got a corporate lawyer, a divorcee who dodged a mail fraud bullet, and a sibling duo with seemingly stable lives. And let's not forget the midlife crisis dad and the wellness enthusiast mom. Family gatherings must be a hoot. Now, the big reveal. The family's sudden interest isn't fueled by love or remorse, but by the golden carrot dangling in Grandpa's will. Money talks, and in this case, it's shouting through a loudspeaker. It's like a dysfunctional game of Monopoly, where the get-out-of-jail-free card is replaced with an apologize for disowning me card. But wait, there's more. Grandpa swoops in with an apology, a will update, and a dash of disappointment because the family name isn't being carried forward. The audacity. Our hero, being the straight shooter he is, unloads a verbal cannon and shuts down Grandpa's meddling, a standing ovation for setting those boundaries. In the midst of this chaotic family saga, our protagonist stands tall, blocks the drama mongers, and contemplates the potential inheritance. The twist? He might just turn that cash into a force for good, giving a whole new meaning to the phrase turning lemons into lemonade. In conclusion, here's to our hero, resilient, boundary-setting, and not willing to let a questionable will dictate his family values. May the future be drama-free, the in-laws stay private on social media, and the family's private detectives retire early. It's that time again. We're transitioning to the community comments. Keep those thoughts coming, and let's make this discussion even more interesting. User the Sanch Awen28. They may have tracked you down by doing a property search in your county. That's how I found the estranged son of one of my college friends, but I haven't revealed this information to either the son or my friend. It was a just-in-case thing if there's an emergency. They may have done a Google search and gotten a lead there. In any event, I'd consult a lawyer on this, just to know your options. Just because there are lawyers in the family doesn't mean they know the ins and outs of this kind of situation. Lawyers, contrary to what they are taught in law school, are neither infallible nor all-knowing. Don't contact Grandpa. Maybe he'll come to his senses, maybe not. Even if not, maybe he'll leave something to his great-granddaughter. If he does, don't give it away. Put it in her college fund to help her be a better person than your side of her family. As for your former family, get more information. See if any of them seem worthy of having you as a family member. If not, fug 'em. They crapped on you big time years ago, and you seem to have done all right without them. If you must deal with them, calmly demand the truth. Why are you contacting me now? What has changed after you've been so shirty to me my whole life? It reads to me that you can get along without this whole bunch very well. You have a wife, a daughter, in-laws, and an aunt that are on your side, and that's not a bad number of people to have. Spend your time on your wife and her recovery. Spend extra time with your daughter to take some burden off your wife. Hug everyone and live a great life. Let your former family bleep themselves. Lastly, take care of yourself. Your wife and daughter need you at your best. User Bloody Batunbode. Wow, you are so much better off without these people. I cannot imagine disowning my children for any reason, much less to have them spread vicious lies about you and slander your own reputation. Also, your grandpa sucks for not reaching out earlier to hear it from you, but he sounds just as bad as the rest of them. Your aunt and your wife's family are your family, and of course your wife and daughter. It sounds like you've made a lovely life for yourself. I'm so sorry for your recent loss. I hope you and your wife are doing well. User Summer of the Flowers. I'm so sorry for your loss, especially at this time. While the situation with your family is more stressful and hurtful than I can imagine, I think that it could be a blessing in disguise. They seem to be very toxic and self-centered, with no emotional or mental development since you were last involved with them. You seem to have your priorities in good order. Continue to cherish your wife, daughter, and aunt. Seems like you've got some good ones. Ready for the next adventure? Let's jump into our next story, and don't forget to hit that like button if you're as excited as I am to explore what comes next. My husband has a second family. The ultimate cliché has happened in my life, and I'm absolutely broken. My husband, my rock, has been having an affair for over 17 years. We have been married for over 25 years. We have 3 beautiful children, 2 in college and 1 who still lives at home. But turns out he's had another set this whole time. My husband is an insurance broker. He has multiple branches over the country which he spends week on, week off. Turns out on his week off, he's been with his other family in Albuquerque, where his other branch is. He's got a fiancé whom he has 2 kids with, both in their early teens. I found out when I went to make a new Facebook account, and when I searched my husband's first name, another profile with another last name popped up. And through that profile were the links to his fiancés and his other kids' Facebooks. My husband is currently with said family, And I know it's him because his most recent post is a photo of him and that other family eating dinner. Among those photos were photos of him kissing the girl, and him being fatherly with kids who look nearly identical to my husband. I am absolutely broken. Almost every part of me wants to scream in his face and reprimand him for ruining my life. But another part of me wants to pretend to be ignorant and let it be. Because our life is peaceful, he's good with our kids, he's the main source of financial income, he's loving, but he's also all those things to another family. Not only would I be tearing a gaping hole into my family, I'd be opening up a vortex for them too. My heart is in shambles. I've never cried so much in my life. My youngest son is currently on a graduation trip with friends, and I'm alone till my lying, cheating bastard husband comes home. My life is absolutely wrecked. It's literally a movie plot. I'm hoping he'll just come home and it'll be a big misunderstanding why he's kissing a woman with a ring on her finger. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm tempted to pack a bag and just leave. I can't be in the home where we've raised our kids, where we've spent every Christmas for the last 26 years, and where I've been alone on New Year's taking care of our babies, while he works his ass off. I just can't. I want to leave a note for him to come home too. Hurt him like he's hurt me, but I don't think that's possible. I don't know how I'll ever face him again. Who would have thought that behind the facade of a loving husband and father, there's a double life that could rival any blockbuster drama? Our protagonist stumbles upon the ultimate bombshell while innocently creating a new Facebook account. It's like opening Pandora's box and finding a whole other family tucked inside. Suddenly, the picture-perfect life shatters, and reality turns into a script penned by the cruelest storyteller. Now the dilemma, to confront or not to confront. It's a choice between tearing apart the fabric of a 25-year-old marriage or playing the role of an Oscar-worthy actress in the grand drama of deception. It's almost Shakespearean. To confront or to pretend ignorance, that is the question. The temptation to leave a note for the cheating spouse becomes a vengeful plot twist, a taste of their own medicine. But life isn't a movie, and sometimes reality is both harsh and mundane. Amidst the emotional wreckage, our protagonist contemplates packing a bag and escaping the scene, leaving the memories of the home they've built for a quarter of a century. It's a drastic move, a real-life cliffhanger that could either lead to a new beginning or an uncertain abyss. In this turmoil, humor seems elusive, and wit might be buried under layers of betrayal. Yet, there's a quiet strength in acknowledging the absurdity of the situation. Life is full of unexpected twists, but it's the resilience to face them that defines the character. As our protagonist navigates the emotional whirlwind, there's an underlying hope. The hope that beyond the tears, heartbreak, and shattered illusions, there lies a path to healing. Sometimes, life scripts the most painful scenes, but it also gives us the strength to turn the page and write a new chapter. In the end, it's not about facing the husband, it's about facing the future. Because no matter how surreal the present feels, the protagonist has the power to shape what comes next. Hold on to your seats. In the upcoming story update, we're weaving in more of your opinions. It's your chance to shape the narrative, so keep those insights flowing. Update. And now the update. I won't be going into details about the divorce because it is still ongoing, but do rest assured it is happening. A few people seemed worried I was going to stay with him, and for a period of time I would have, but no, we are divorcing. On that note, I have completely cut contact with him. Our contact is through lawyers only. He officially moved out of the house, and my middle moved back in to help out over the break. My kids have, to my knowledge, cut most contact with him, but I haven't asked as it is not my place. Also, custody isn't a problem because my youngest turned 18 recently. We have also been in contact with the other family, and we even spent Christmas together. Despite being a little awkward at first, me and his ex-fiancé are trying our hardest to bring the kids together harmoniously. And that'll be the last update. I'm logging off of Reddit now. I will continue living my life. I'll try to support my kids through theirs, but I'll forever be thankful for the support and love you all have shown. Yours truly and sincerely, OP. Firstly, let's appreciate the strength and resilience of our protagonist, who decided to pen a new chapter in life. Divorce is never a joyous occasion, but sometimes it's the necessary plot twist for a character's growth. Cutting ties, moving out, and engaging in the legal dance. A classic finale move. It's like our protagonist finally decided to take the reins and direct the movie of their life. The kids, being the central characters in this storyline, seem to have their own character arcs. The youngest reaching the magical age of 18, conveniently solving any custody issues. A smart move, scriptwriter life hack. Now, the unexpected twist that no one saw coming. A crossover episode with the other family. Christmas together. It's like the writers decided to throw in a heartwarming scene after all the tears. Who would have thought that the ex-fiancé would become an ally in this crazy narrative? Despite the awkwardness at first, the attempt to harmonize the kids' relationships is a touching subplot. It's like a lesson in forgiveness and moving forward, reminding us that life can indeed surprise us with unexpected allies. And now, the grand exit. Logging off Reddit, walking into the sunset of a new chapter. It's a beautiful resolution. Life might be a series of unpredictable episodes, but our protagonist has chosen to end this season with gratitude for the support received. Before we dive into the next story, let's take a moment to check out what you, our incredible audience, are saying in the comments. Your opinions truly matter. User Sadie, Love Iro 818. I'm so glad custody isn't an issue and your children are old enough to know everything that's going on. I hope that you aren't jaded and one day you'll find somebody who will solely be for you. User Sensitive Engineer 64. You are so strong. It's amazing that you both have found your common ground and got the kids together. The fact he hid this all from both of you speaks volumes about his inability to care. I hope you are proud of yourself for how you have handled things. You have done really well. I hope the divorce is or was quick, and he just let it all fall where it needed to, because arguing would be ridiculous. Good luck to you, your kids, and their half-siblings. User Sassacera. My dad's first and second ex-wives became pals. I got an extra aunt who understands and loves me completely. She was the one who listened when my mom died and my grief was heavy and lonely. To create space for this relationship shows your integrity, intention, and care. You validate and understand each other's experience in ways no one else will ever be able to. I'm sorry you've all experienced such betrayal. We've had some great discussions, and now it's time to move on to our next intriguing story. Get ready for more twists, turns, and unexpected revelations. Guess whose Christmas is ruined now, Mom? This is going to be pretty long and inane, so I'll include a TLDR at the bottom. I, 30M, moved from the central US to the northwest coast when I was 22, mostly to get away from my crazy mother. Most of my family were all enablers of her behavior because they found it easier to just go along with it than fight her on it, save for my 3 older sisters who got out of Dodge because they couldn't take her shit. One of them even moved to Canada. So yeah, I was not only the only boy, but also the youngest, which made me a perpetual baby in my mother's eyes. So my mother often tried to infantilize me growing up. She tried to spoon feed me when I was 16, then complained I wasn't being supportive of her when I refused to let her do things like that, then gaslit me when I didn't cave to her whining. Her behavior has been manipulative and narcissistic for as long as I can remember. She tended to make everything about her. Some referred to her as having a queen mother complex. She always expected to be honored and revered on any holiday, because even my birthdays had to be all about her. Even when she did none of the work or planning, she showed up to my 21st birthday in an outfit that looked a lot like a wedding dress of sorts, then expected me to escort her by the arm everywhere from the moment she arrived. We were just celebrating in a local bar, not some sort of fancy club. So that went about as well as you can expect, and she made a huge fuss saying I was humiliating her on her day. When I remarked that it wasn't her day, it was mine, she threw a tantrum and ran out like a teenage girl who'd just been dumped at the prom. And that wasn't all. She had some other habits that were unbelievably creepy towards me. She attempted to sit in my lap a few times and said she wanted cuddles. I openly called that weird, and she repeated her usual by pouting and gaslighting. When she was 45, she started openly talking to other people near me about wanting to get a facelift and breast implants to look 20 years younger, and she'd give me the side eye while doing it. But my father adamantly said he'd never pay for such unneeded things. That sparked many fights where she called him unsupportive, then would spend weeks playing the victim. We were never big churchgoers, but she'd drag my father and I to the local Mormon church on random Sundays when she wanted to try and get back at me for not enabling her. We weren't even Mormons, but it was the closest church to us. She once put me on the spot trying to infantilize me in front of an entire congregation of people after the sermon, and I called her out on what she was really doing. Then I just walked out. That was the last straw, and I moved out to rent a small room at a friend's parents' house for $200 a month. When I was packing to leave, she was begging me to stay almost the entire time. I told her I was her son, not her husband, and I was sick of the creepy way she was acting around me. I had my own life to live after all. She just ran away sobbing, and we didn't talk for months. I learned from my cousin that she was going around saying I'd come running back to her bosom any day. But when I didn't, she lost her shit. My mother, even years after I became an adult, openly talked to me like a small child in front of other people and expected me to play along with it. And when I didn't, she'd first give me an expression, like she was pleading with me. But I just stayed stone-faced. That made her grab me by the arm and try to drag me outside like a little kid to loudly whisper in my ear. But I always refused to let her, and even threw her off a few times when she refused to let go. And the last time she attempted that, she dug her nails into my shoulder. So I swatted her hand away so hard, there was a bruise left on it. That made her switch to mostly emotional manipulation. We both went to my uncle's birthday party, and while there, she was openly following me around and loudly talking to my aunt about the way I used to breastfeed as a child anytime she was close to me, and even said she lamented she couldn't still make me do that, then gave me that pleading look again. I wanted to throw up. My aunt was visibly disgusted as I told her about a lot of the previous things, but I guess she never really believed it was as bad as I said until that day. When I refused to cater to my mother at the party, she eventually broke down and loudly stated she was the matriarch, and that what she says goes, then tried to order me to come to her like a little boy. To which I reminded her that I didn't live with her anymore, nor did I have to do as she said because I wasn't a child. And then several other family members backed me up for the first time ever, which actually shocked me. That made my mother screech at us all and then leave, only to call me multiple times later to try and gaslight me over the phone. I let it all go to voicemail. Before making the choice to leave my home city, I had a girlfriend there I really liked. We'd been dating a few months and she wanted to meet my family. I was skeptical and warned her about my mother, but she must have thought I was joking. Boy, was she surprised. My mother was especially passive-aggressive towards her when they met, because she was taking her baby away, as we both heard her say to a relative over the phone in the kitchen when she thought no one else was listening. And then later, while cutting a cake she baked, my mother gave my at-the-time girlfriend an eerie stare while holding a large kitchen knife. Needless to say, that poor girl couldn't deal with my mother for very long, and we ended things amicably soon after, because she never wanted to risk having someone like my mother as a mother-in-law. Sadly, I had to completely agree. So when I told my mother I was moving over 1,000 miles away, she went ballistic and tried to latch onto me and say that she wouldn't allow it. But I threw her off and said she didn't have the power to stop me. I'd saved as much as I could for years and bought a truck and camper trailer, and spent another 2 years living out of said camper while working a simple job in Northern Cali. During this time, I didn't bother to keep in contact with any family at all. Eventually, I met someone new, and she and I are still together to this day, though neither of us are really interested in marriage or children. When I finally broke the NC with my parents in 2016, I laid down some ground rules. They were to treat me with the respect of an adult. They would not pester my girlfriend, and they would not speak to me like a child or bring up anything from my childhood. Well, no surprise, my mother couldn't do any of those when we actually came to visit for Thanksgiving. So I told her I was done and not to bother calling me until she realized I'm a grown-ass man. She tried to block the door and started quoting the Bible about how parents should be respected by their children. I told her she didn't respect me, so I wouldn't respect her. In December of that year, I got multiple calls, emails, and texts from her begging me to come to Christmas and not to bring my girlfriend. I said if she wasn't welcome, then neither was I. She called me unreasonable and called my girlfriend an interloping whore to our special bond, and no woman should come between a mother and her son, then practically ordered me to go. When I refused, she started making empty threats of self-harm. I told her she can do what she likes with her own body, but I would not be coming to Christmas and would instead be spending it with my girlfriend's family. My mother said I'd regret that decision and ended the call in a rage. Well, 2 days before Christmas, the door to the small house my girlfriend and I were renting was kicked in by police who were convinced that we were running a meth lab. We were detained and interrogated, while police turned our yard into a veritable flea market, as a lot of our furniture and personal belongings were brought outside and arranged in rows to be inspected. They went through the house with a fine-toothed comb with drug-sniffing dogs and found nothing more than aspirin and some medication I had at the time for depression. Needless to say, they were visibly disappointed by that. Guess they'd hoped to get some big drug bust or something. Turns out this all happened because my crazy mother had called them and gave details that were so accurate. She had to have been stalking us at some point. She claimed that I was using my camper as a front to sell meth. My guess is she watched a lot of Breaking Bad. When police found nothing in the house, both vehicles and the camper, they were forced to put everything back and let us go. Understandably, we were furious, but I couldn't really do anything other than file a complaint because they'd caused some damage to the house that my landlord was angry about. As a major stroke of karma, my mother was arrested during her own Christmas Day party, in front of most of the family. The investigation later showed that she'd taken a flight to my state, and then spent a few days following us around taking pictures of me, my girlfriend, and our home. She'd broken in and photographed everything she could, right down to the underwear in my dresser. That was especially creepy. And police found she documented where I worked and what times my girlfriend and I were usually home or at our jobs. We're not really sure what her overall goal was, but it likely involved more than just trying to give me a scare with cops. I filed for a restraining order, and my mother spent 2 years in jail for filing a false police report and stalking. While my mother was in lockup, I reconnected with my family, and they all admitted they'd known for years the way she was around me. And they were sorry about not doing anything to help, especially my father. He cried while giving me a huge apology over the phone. He filed for divorce after my mother was released from jail. And in the divorce, my mother got the house, mainly because my father no longer wanted it and agreed to let her have his share in it, in exchange for a clean split. The court ruled he didn't have to pay any alimony anyway because they were already both retired. So he chose to move closer to me and now lives in the same state out of an Airstream trailer he'd already owned since the 90s along the West Coast. He said he spends his evenings sipping tea and watching the waves, and he couldn't be happier. My mother didn't take the divorce well and tried to draw it out, but several family members came forward with witness statements. My sisters all showed up to speak about what she was really like, and some relatives even had some recordings about the creepy things my mom used to say. On top of all that, it got out that my mother had not only cheated on my father, but done so multiple times with different men, a few of which came forward during the divorce with proof. The judge ended up refusing to let my mother draw out the divorce any longer, and even her lawyer told her to let it go if she wanted to keep her pension intact. And when it was all over, my mother has basically been left alone in the old family home, and hardly anyone wants anything to do with her anymore. She's reached out to me on several occasions, but I just told her this was the result of her own deeds, and now she'd have to live with it. She tried to say she was getting therapy, but I told her that she should have done that a long time ago, and I really didn't care anymore because she can't undo the things she'd already done. She just cried and hung up the phone. I haven't spoken to her since. I can already see the Hollywood adaptation, Breaking Ties, starring your mother as the not-so-innocent villain. It's like a soap opera where your mom is the lead character trying to outmaneuver everyone, but Karma, oh sweet Karma, had other plans. The police raid was just the climax we didn't know we needed. A real Methbusters moment. Did she mistake your camper for an RV meth lab? Next level paranoia. And let's not forget the divorce saga, a courtroom showdown that could rival any legal drama. Cheating scandals, family confessions, and even a trailer-bound father finding bliss by sipping tea near the waves. It's got everything. I can almost hear the dramatic soundtrack playing in the background. Your decision to keep your cool and file a restraining order deserves an Oscar. You turned the tables on the Queen Mother of Chaos. It's like you stepped out of the pages of a self-help book titled How to Deal with Crazy Parents 101. As for your sisters and the rest of the family, their collective "sorry we messed up" moment is like the plot twist we all saw coming but secretly wished for. The redemption arc, if you will. Now you're in a state of peaceful Airstream living, far from the melodramatic clutches of your mother. It's a story of triumph, resilience, and the sweet, sweet justice served on a platter of courtroom papers. The moral of the story? Sometimes life's plot twists lead to a better sequel. So, here's to sipping tea by the waves, to families reuniting sans the crazy, and to you, the protagonist, who emerged victorious from the chaotic script your mother tried to write. May your camper be forever meth-free, and your days drama-free. Before we unravel the next chapter, let's take a pit stop at the community. Your thoughts and reactions are the heartbeat of our discussions. User Zookeeper007. With a mother like that, I would own a gun. Just saying. Who knows if she would break into the house in the middle of the night deranged with a knife or some shit. User Diddlymaz. I simply cannot understand what these women are thinking. It must be some delusion. As a mother, I raised my children to fly, not chain them to me. I am so sorry that this kind of thing happens. User RubyBop. Sometimes I worry about being a bad parent if I ever decide to have kids. And then I read posts like this and realize I could be a lot worse. We've had some fantastic insights in the comments, and now it's time to move on to our last captivating story. Get ready for another roller coaster of emotions. Aida for asking my fiancé to skip this year's Christmas family vacation because our baby is due? Context. I have gone to Florida with his family for the past 5 years for at least part of Christmas. Every other year, I returned before him to spend Christmas Day with my family. This year is the first time in a long time that all the other siblings are able to overlap dates. My fiancé has major FOMO, which is why this is a sensitive subject. His parents have always been weird about keeping their family close. They've never said it outright, but little things suggest they don't consider me completely part of their family, yet since we aren't married. Also, my parents are away overseas dealing with a grandparent emergency. My mom has been kept in the loop though and is trying to come back as soon as she can. My fiancé and I, 31M and 31F, are expecting our first baby due December 30th. His family has a vacation home in Florida, and they have gone every year during the holidays for about a month until after New Year. He agreed not to go this year because of the baby, but his family is insisting that he go and come back on the 28th, which is ample time before the baby is due. So he bought a ticket for December 15th, 28th. His reasoning is that his parents really want him there and his siblings will also be going. This is bothering me a lot more than I thought, because I know pregnancies are unpredictable, especially in the last trimester, and if anything happens leading up to the due date, I need him there. My parents are away until December 26th, and my friends have their families, so I will be completely alone. The other reason, and I guess it's more selfish, is that I will be spending Christmas by myself. It's not the main reason why I'm bothered, but it's a small part of it. He's been spending Christmas every year in Florida since he was 15, and there will be many more trips after the baby is born. I don't know why he has to go this year, Anytime I bring it up, it results in a very uncomfortable fight about my expectations to put me first rather than his parents. I don't even bring it up anymore. His parents have always been kind to me, but they also don't see any problem. So I think I'm going crazy. Ada here. The good news is that my mom arrived home yesterday. When I had explained everything to her, her sister, who is a retired nurse, insisted she come too. I'm so thankful to have them here. It's hard to get my feelings across as there's a bit of a cultural barrier. My mom is from HK, and without getting into details, the grandparent situation was very much an emergency. But she has siblings and my dad who is staying there ATM. As for my fiancé, I scheduled a virtual appointment with him and my OB-GYN to update her and told her this whole situation. LK all of you, she was appalled, and strongly recommended he not travel during this time. Her words were, "In my professional opinion, I'm going to very strongly recommend you reconsider your plans. In my personal opinion, I'm going to insist it." It was probably on me for not alerting her sooner his travel plans. After that, he is still going, but adjusting his date so he will be back on the 22nd. There will be 1 day overlap with his siblings. His mom isn't too happy he won't be there for Christmas. She suggested he fly back later on the 25th instead, so he can spend a part of Christmas Day with them, but he said no. It's still not ideal for me. My mom and aunt has insisted to speak with his parents, so we've scheduled a call with them later today. I reached out to my best friend too about this after I read some of your responses and PMs. She was livid and informed her husband that she doesn't care if it's on Christmas Day. If I go into labor, she will drop everything and be there. She's also been kept up to date about who will be with me while he is away and will be visiting. I know there were a lot of questions regarding the family, but I can't address all of them. It's too much to write out. Yes, I know they don't treat me completely as family. There have always been small, passive-aggressive things that bothered me. Not invited to Mother's Father's Day events, left out of Family Secret Santa, not being allowed to sleep in the same room when we visit, etc. Yes, I know that his mother must be aware that he shouldn't be leaving me at 37 weeks. She's not dumb, and I update her after all my appointments, so I know she knows this too. I don't know why she's saying it's okay, but I have an idea why. My mom has made it clear she will be addressing all of this in the call. Some of you wondered how they can afford to go to Florida for a month. His parents are retired and snowbird there. His siblings and SIL all have 9 to 5 jobs that are partly remote, so they are lucky enough to take their work to Florida and work there. My fiancé is a gig worker, so he dictates his own schedule. Obviously, their schedules don't always align. I haven't shown him this thread yet. ATM, it's just one more thing I don't want to deal with him. I may in the future, but I have suggested we go to therapy before we set a wedding date. He agreed. I am also seeking counseling for myself. Lastly, I am incredibly grateful to all of you who took time to respond, offer to visit me, and bring me food. I have never posted on Reddit before, but I appreciate the support you've all shown me. Once again, thank you all so much. I'll try to update again after the baby comes. It might be a while, but please know that I am safe and have a lot of love surrounding me. Please have a safe and happy holidays. Also, I am expecting a girl. Your fiancé's major case of FOMO seems like it's been hitting the gym. I can see it flexing its muscles in the corner, oblivious to the imminent arrival of its tiny competitor, Baby FOMO Jr. And cue the uncomfortable family fights, the kind you wish came with a laugh track to lighten the mood. His parents, seemingly kind but with a knack for selective blindness, have entered the but family first arena, totally ignoring that you're about to bring an actual family member into the world. Classic sitcom material, really. The timing is almost poetic. Your parents away overseas, your friends busy with their own holiday shenanigans, and you left alone in a situation that's screaming for a Christmas miracle. Maybe cue the entrance of your mom and aunt, swooping in like superhero reinforcements. Talk about the cavalry arriving just in time. The virtual appointment with the OB-GYN, complete with a professional and personal recommendation to abort the travel mission, deserves an Emmy nod. It's like the universe conspired to have a medical professional play the trump card in this family vacation drama. And finally, the impending conference call showdown with the in-laws, the grand finale we've all been waiting for. It's got the potential to be more gripping than any reality TV reunion episode. Pass the popcorn, please. In the midst of all this chaos, your best friend is the unsung hero, ready to drop everything for you. It's like a heartwarming subplot in a storyline that's desperately needing some warmth. Despite the roller coaster of emotions and family dynamics straight out of a soap opera, it's heartening to know that you're surrounded by love and support. And hey, congratulations on the impending arrival of your little leading lady. Here's to hoping that the next chapter brings more joy, less drama, and a whole lot of laughter. Our community is a treasure trove of insights, so let's take a moment to dive into the comments before we immerse ourselves in the end of the story. User her423111. You know his mom is going to be the worst kind of entitled grandma. She's gonna want that grandbaby there in Florida for the whole season, every single year. She'll suggest OOP can leave the baby with them if she wants to go see her family by herself. I'm already stressed for OOP. Glad she has family and friends to help her out. User Murphy234578. He shouldn't get a phone call if she goes into labor while he is gone. He is one of the most selfish people I have read about on here. The OOP needs to wake up and realize he isn't going to be there for her and the baby. I personally would have told my husband don't come back. User Peter095837. Nope, that there is just major red flags. I am tickled off on the fact that the husband and family wanted to leave OP alone for the holidays when she is at the end of her pregnancy. Like, are you effing serious? This family is trash and the husband too. I have a feeling things are going to get worse. As we wrap up this Reddit story, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more captivating Reddit stories. Your support means the world to me. I enjoy, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.